On Monday, President Donald Trump indicated that he wants to reach an agreement with Ukraine to gain access to the country's rare earth elements as a condition for continuing U.S. support for its war against Russia. Speaking to reporters in the Oval Office, Mr. Trump complained that the U.S. had sent more in military and economic assistance to Ukraine than its European partners.
We're telling Ukraine they have very valuable rare earth. We want what we put up to go in terms of a guarantee. We want a guarantee. We're handing them money hand over fist. We're giving them equipment. European is not keeping up with us. They should equalize. And look, we have an ocean in between. They don't. It's more important for them than it is for us. But they're way below us in terms of money. And they should be paying at least equal. They should really be paying much more than us. But let's say equal to us. And they're billions and billions of dollars below. So we're looking to do a deal with Ukraine where they're going to secure what we're giving them with their rare earth and other things.
Mr. Trump suggested that he's received word from the Ukrainian government that they'd be willing to make a deal. The National Post's Adam Zivo joined us from Odessa, Ukraine, for more on that deal.
I think it's a good idea for the United States to make its support to Ukraine contingent on access to rare earth minerals, because I think it would illustrate to American voters that there is a concrete benefit to its alliance with Ukraine. Obviously, supporting Ukraine does support American interests. It helps consolidate American power internationally. It prevents the United States from entering larger scale military engagements in Eastern Europe in the future, because that's what would happen if Ukraine were to fall. But at the same time, voters haven't fully understood why support for Ukraine actually matters. They don't understand that much of the money being sent to Ukraine is actually being invested into American industry to renew the United States' arsenals, and that old weapons are being sent to Ukraine. And I think that introducing the rare earth angle could bolster support for Ukraine from an America First perspective. And then the interesting thing about this is that Ukraine's rare earth minerals are predominantly based in its eastern areas, predominantly in the Donbass, which would give the United States a very good reason to support Ukraine all the way to the liberation of its eastern territories. Maybe not Crimea, because Crimea is not where these rare earth minerals are, based, and I don't think it's realistic to liberate Crimea, to be honest. But liberating the Donetsk region and Luhansk region would be amazing for the Ukrainians. And this would give a very compelling reason for the United States to support that goal and to continue supporting it going forward. Because if the United States ends up diversifying its source of rare earth minerals and relies on Ukraine for this resource, and we have to keep in mind this resource is very important when it comes to development of electronics, then Ukraine would essentially be locked into an alliance with the United States, because the United States would not be able to afford to abandon the Donbass to a Russian invasion in the future. And though there are some, Ukrainians who say that they shouldn't give up such an important resource to a foreign power, I think that ultimately we have to be realistic about what military alliances look like. They're not just all about high-level principles, they're about realpolitik. And I think that you have to give a little to get a little. And in a grand scheme of things, if it's a choice between giving up access to your rare earth minerals and kind of selling that to a foreign power versus facing Russian occupation and having your citizens slaughtered and having your culture erased, I think the choice is pretty clear.
We also asked Adam for an update on Ukraine's war effort.
As of now, the Ukrainians are exhausted. They've been exhausted for years, but they have managed to stabilize the front line to a certain extent. So though the Russians are advancing slowly in the southeast, the rate at which they're advancing suggests that this war could continue for quite some time, and that the Russians may simply run out of manpower before they make any kind of major breakthrough. Capturing, spending thousands and thousands and thousands of Russian lives to capture a few villages, to move forward a few kilometers every day is not the most efficient use of one's resources. And considering the fact that the Russian economy is now beginning to sputter, that you have high inflation and high interest rates, I don't think that this war effort can be sustained much longer. There is a sense of cautious optimism in Ukraine since Trump was reelected, because I think that the Ukrainians realized that the Biden administration was not going to provide the level of support needed for the Ukrainians to actually win and take back their territory. I think that the Biden administration alienated many Ukrainians at the end of 2024 when they falsely claimed that Ukraine had been given enough weaponry and the problem was conscription, when in reality, conscription problems exist precisely because not enough weapons have been given and men don't want to fight if they are not properly equipped. So after those comments were made, I think public opinion soured quite dramatically against President Biden, well, former President Biden. And now with Trump, people don't know what to expect. They don't know if he is going to abandon Ukraine. They don't know if he's going to save it. Sometimes it feels like everyone is rolling a die and seeing what's happening. But for some, this gamble is preferable to slowly bleeding out.